Hey, sixth graders, it's Mr. McMahon, and today we're going to look at an event in world history called the Crusades. Now, it happens during the Middle Ages, which we've been talking about, the time period between the fall of Rome and the Renaissance. And it takes time during the height of the power of the Roman Catholic Church. And we've been looking at some of the things about the Roman Catholic Church. The Crusades are a series of wars. It is between the Christians of Europe and the Muslim Turks of the Holy Land. And it happens over a couple hundred years. And there are several reasons behind it. We're going to go through that in a moment. But realize the Crusades was over a period of time. It was a couple hundred years long, so it took a while. So in this video, we're going to learn some things about the Crusades, and at the end, we'll kind of wrap that up. All right, so now when we start thinking about the Crusades, we look at our state standard. And here in South Carolina, we have to summarize the course of the Crusades. I want you to think of course kind of like a plot. What's kind of the story. And how did these what was their effects on feudalism, and what was their role in spreading Christianity? So hopefully by the end of this presentation, what you're going to know is what were the actual Crusades, why would anyone want to go fight on a crusade, or why did that happen? What was the course? And think of a story again. Think of the plot. We're going to go through 4 different Crusades. How did it affect feudalism? We've been talking about feudalism and that social hierarchy and the manor system. Well, the Crusades are going to make a big change on feudalism. And then finally, what role did they play in spreading Christianity? And I might even argue, did they spread Christianity at all? So we're going to go through these 5 objectives for the tutorial. And this is what I'd like you to know by the end. So first of all, let's look at a description. What were the Crusades? So if you look at this map, these are the actual Crusades, and these are the major ones. There's 4 of them. And the Crusades happens over, if you look at the date at the top, 1096 to 1204. So this is over 200 years. It's basically between Christians and Muslims, and it's control for, if you look at the bottom right, it's control over the Holy Land. So as you think about this, if you can close your eyes for a moment and picture this map, this is ultimately what the Crusades are. Now, in 4th grade, you would have studied the American Civil War. It was from 1861, 1865. It only happens 4 years. The major players, Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee, Jefferson Davis, Abraham Lincoln, the players stay the same. In the Crusades, 200 years, one man would have fought, and maybe his great-great-great-great-grandson would have fought in a later crusade. So we're talking a long period of time here. The Crusades, ultimately, you can see the area circled in red, is eventually for the Holy Land, which is part of the Middle East. And so this is really what the Crusades are over. Who is going to control the Holy Land? And we know if we look at the purple area, or most of the purple area, the Roman Catholic Church, at this time of the Middle Ages, gave Europe some unity, gave it stability. This is after the fall of Charlemagne, and people are a little scared, but the church is the one thing they can count on. So what caused? Well, our first cause is Christian pilgrims, the ones in the purple area, are trying to visit the Holy Land in the bottom right corner. And the Muslim Turks that were controlling the area at the time were not allowing them. Second, Christians in the Byzantine Empire, which is there on the right by Constantinople, they were being attacked by Muslim Turks, and they wanted help from the Christians, from the Catholic Christians in the rest of the Holy Roman Empire in France, etc. So they were asking for help. And third, Christians saw this in Europe. They saw this as an opportunity to diffuse Christianity or to spread it to the Middle East. So because of these causes, Pope Urban, who's the head of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, basically the area is mainly in purple, he has this famous quote. He says, "Let those who once fought against brothers and relatives now rightfully fight against barbarians." And what he's trying to say is to the people of France and England, the Holy Roman Empire, quit fighting each other. Instead of fighting each other, join my army, join my Christian army, and we're going to go attack the Holy Land, and we're going to attack the Muslim Turks. We're going to try to make sure our pilgrims can go there. We're going to try to spread Christianity. We're going to support our brothers in the Byzantine Empire. So he's really trying to get the people of Europe to come to his side. And what's amazing is thousands do. Thousands go ahead and fight for the Pope's army, and we're going to call them Crusaders. So why would anyone want to even go on a crusade? What's the purpose behind it? There are 3 main reasons that people join the Pope's army and fight in the Crusades. Number 1 is honor. The Pope, he's the leader of your church. He's asked you to go fight for his army, to go diffuse Christianity and spread it, to go can take control of the Holy Land for Christians, to support your Byzantine Christian brothers. So first of all, he's asking for honor. Second reason people go is for power. They figure they can go down there and take land and become more powerful, or find treasure, or get money. So they're trying to get wealthy or power off it. And third, to spread Christianity. The third reason that people join is the opportunity to spread Christianity from Europe out through Asia. So what about the Crusades? And we're going to look at really four. And here you see kind of a diagram of the Crusades. So when you think of the Crusades, I kind of want you to picture this image. And if you'll notice, everyone's moving from the Holy Roman Empire there in the purple on the left side, the western side, and they're going southeast, and they're going towards the Holy Land. So all the Crusades move from left to right in the map, or from west to east, and that's the direction or the course of the Crusades. So the first Crusade begins in basically Europe, in Western Europe. The Crusaders meet up in Constantinople, and they attack Jerusalem. And for the Crusaders' point of view, they are successful. They conquered Jerusalem, they conquered the Holy Land, and they controlled Jerusalem. And they controlled Jerusalem for approximately 50 years. So the first crusade, in the eyes of the Christian Crusaders, would have been a success. So whatever Pope Urban asked, they did what he's asked. However, after 50 years, Jerusalem, basically the Holy Land, starts to fall back in the hands of Muslim Turks. And next Pope, because remember this is over a couple hundred years, he forms the Second Crusade. The Second Crusade, similar path. They meet in Western Europe. They meet up again in Constantinople. They go to the Holy Land, but it's a failure. They do not control the Holy Land. They are soundly defeated, and they have heavy losses. So the Second Crusade, not successful for Christians. The Third Crusade, and you'll see there's a couple different paths. A lot of them go over water through the Mediterranean Sea. Some come over land. The Third Crusade, the Christian Crusaders are led by King Richard the Lionheart. You know, he has the heart of a lion, versus the Muslim leader, who is Saladin. And both these guys are well respected by their troops. Both of them are tremendous leaders. And the problem with the Third Crusade is really nothing's accomplished on either side. In the end, they kind of come to what I would call a truce. Saladin says, okay, we're going to control the Holy Land, we're going to control Jerusalem, but we're going to allow safe passage for Christian pilgrims. So that's kind of how the Third Crusade ends. However, for the Fourth Crusade, Christian military or knights again decide they're going to go back to the Holy Land. They leave Venice, Italy. They sail to Constantinople, and that's where they stay because they run out of money, and they need money. So they kind of terrorize the city of Constantinople, taking their treasure to fund their further crusade to the Holy Land, but they never make it. So it's kind of ironic that Christians from Venice, Italy, end up attacking Christians in the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople, and they never make it to the Holy Land. Now, there are more than 4 crusades. We're just stopping at the 4 main ones. So what about the Reconquista? If you think of the prefix re, means again, in conquista, it maybe means conquer. So that's what we're talking about. And so if you look at the map, you'll notice that Muslims, through trade and conquest, have taken over what we call the Iberian Peninsula. It's circled there in red. Today we call it Spain and Portugal, and they've conquered about 2/3 of it. So during the time period of the Crusades, but not an actual crusade, we have what's called the Reconquista. Christians out of Europe wanted to push Muslims out of Spain, or out of the Iberian Peninsula. And they're actually successful, and they pushed the Caliphate back into North Africa, and today Spain is over 90% Roman Catholic, so they are a very strong Christian nation today. So the Reconquista, in the eyes of Christians, was successful. So what about the effects of Crusades? Now I'm going to put these in 2 categories, successes and failures. It doesn't mean one was good and one was bad. I wasn't sure how else to title it, so that's kind of how I put it the way it is. So first of all, what were successes in the eyes of maybe the Christian Crusaders and the Reconquista? They stopped Muslims from invading Europe. They pushed them out of Spain and out of the Iberian Peninsula, and they stopped them there at the Byzantine Empire. So in that sense, for the Christian Crusaders, it would have been a success. Second, highlight this one, pause the video, take a picture of the eyes. Number 1, trade increases between Europe and Asia. What's amazing is that the Christian Crusaders find there's several things they kind of like. Basically, they find when they get over to the Holy Land. They like apricots. They like rice. They love this fabric called cotton. They love some of the Muslim scientific advances like the astrolabe, which eventually leads to European exploration. They love some of the military strategies they find. So trade between Europe and Asia increases. So Europe starts to move out of this dark time period of the manor system and feudalism, and they start to open things up, which eventually leads to our next unit of study, which is going to be the Renaissance. And eventually it leads into the European exploration. So because of the Crusades, it accelerates Europe moving out of what we call this Dark Ages or the Middle Ages. And finally, the power of kings and the nation states increases. We're going to learn in a moment the power of the Pope decreases, but the power of kings, the power of nation states increases. So these are kind of some of your successes. So what about some things that maybe didn't go out so well? Well, didn't work out too well for the Pope and the Catholic Church. Their power decreases. The Crusades were failures. The goal of the Christian Crusades was to control the Holy Land. They did not. So the Pope loses some of his power to Catholic Church. We're going to learn about the Reformation soon. It leads to the Reformation. Second, feudalism is weakened. Because it opens up to trade and people start to get into becoming merchants and businesses start to take effect. We start to lose the manor system. We start to lose feudalism. And so trade with Asia increases. So feudalism for itself becomes a failure, probably a positive for Europe. But feudalism, it becomes a failure for feudalism. And we see this today. Tensions between Christians and Muslims increased. And today we see that. Many historians will tell you that the tensions we see today can be traced back to before the Crusades, and definitely the Crusades did not help. So tensions between Christians and Muslims increased. All right, so that was our review, our lesson on the Crusades. So now you should be able to tell me some things. What were they? Why did they happen? Who were they between? So what about the course of them? What was the plan from Crusade 1, 2, 3, and 4? How did it change feudalism? And finally, did it diffuse Christianity? And there's some other effects that did happen. So as for the Crusades, we're going to move on to our next part of the Middle Ages. We're going to look at a famous document called the Magna Carta. And here's what you really need to know about the Magna Carta summed up in one sentence. It limits the power of the king. So it's a document that the lords and nobles of England and the king signed like a contract, and it ultimately limits his power. And that's really what you need to know about the Magna Carta. But I'll see you then. We'll go over it. Till then, see you later.